Hello everybody. Today we're going to talk about George Harvey and we're going to tie one of his pusher flies. Recently I came across his book, Techniques of Trout Fishing and Fly Tying, and this is the 1985 version. And the way you can distinguish this from the original version published in 1976 is that the original version is called Techniques of Fly Tying and Trout Fishing. This book is a great read. If you never find it, pick it up. It has a lot of innovative techniques in it, and one of the patterns in there is one that he was most famous for, which is the pusher fly. How effective was the pusher fly for George Harvey? Listen to this, straight from his book. The pattern was so deadly on large brown trout that I kept it a secret for over 15 years, and then only showed it to a few close friends. It will outfish the conventional flies by so large a margin that all who have used this pattern will use no other when night fishing. In fact, the largest brown ever taken in Pennsylvania, a 34-inch, 15-pound, 5-ounce monster, was taken on this pattern by my fishing companion, Joe Humphreys. That's a deadly pattern. Let's go tie it up. I'm going to start the thread on the hook shank right about where I want the body to end. And that's just going to give me a good gauge of how far I need to take the dubbing up. And there will be a reason for that, which we'll talk about when we get to that point. I'm going to start this fly with my thread right in line with the barb of the hook. Now you can pinch that barb later on if you want. We're going to leave it on there for now, but start with 2 hen hackle tips. And I'm going to place them so that they are curved away from each other. And I'm just going to tie those in, leave a little bit of a tail. I'm going to tie in a brown saddle hackle feather. Now in Harvey's book, he talks about dark colors being his favorite. In this case, I'm adding brown just to add a little bit of contrast. I don't think contrast is ever a bad thing in a fly, even a night fly. Next thing is going to be black dubbing, and any black dubbing will do here. But we're going to create a body. We're going to use a lot of dubbing on this fly. We're going to create a body that is somewhat sausage shaped. And we're going to start out a little thinner at the tail. And as we go forward, we're just going to increase the thickness a little bit. Think about the bodies of moths. And I think, in a way, that's really what this fly is supposed to represent, is just a drowned moth that is fluttering through the water trying to get back to the surface. So we're going to make it a little bit of cigar shape, nice and thick, rounded, like a moth body. Once we reach that point where we tied in, I'm going to wait. You see how there is just an abrupt ending to that dubbing. Now we're going to wrap our brown saddle hackle. Get started there. Notice it's oversized. This is a size 4 nymph hook, 2x long. You can use 3x long. And in Harvey's book, he talks about tying this fly up into 2/0 sized. So that's a big fly. And his theory is it takes big flies to catch big fish. And, he's not wrong. That's an idea that is very popular today. Just make sure that's tight in there. Then we're going to take a brown or a black hackle feather. And this is just from a woolly bugger pack, just a standard black feather from a woolly bugger pack, and I leave a little bit of the webbing on there. I think this really creates somewhat of a buggy look even more. It gives it that little bit of furry look too, I think. The hardest part is getting that started because it's so thick there at the stem, so we gotta tie that in pretty tight. Okay. You can stroke those feathers backwards a little bit there. And I'm going right behind the thread. Okay. Nice and secure. Clip it. Okay, now I'm going to use breast feathers from a pheasant, a ringneck pheasant. And again, I'm going to match these so that they are curved facing out from each other. And I'm going to lay these parallel to the hook, one on each side. And tie them in. Try to arrange them so that they're perfectly on each side there. Clip off the longer stems. Okay, don't have to be perfect there, but okay. Now at this point, I'm just gonna put a couple half hitches on here. And I'll show you why in just a second, because this is how I finish the fly a little bit differently than what is in the recipe, of course. But okay, so once we have our breast feathers tied in there, we're going to trim them so that they are even with the bend of the hook. So we're cutting off these soft tips. And that's important because we're leaving that more sturdy, rigid part of the feather attached, and these are what's going to stick outward and actually move that water as this fly is floating down through the current. Okay, so now we're going to use a little bit of UV resin, thick. I think if George Harvey had access to this back in the day, he would have utilized it a lot. And this is going to help us really lock those wings in place. Very good. Hit it with the UV light. It's all cured. There you go. George Harvey's pusher fly. Now you can trim, some of these feathers if you like, just to make them neater. It's really not necessary. And I think when you really look at the top view of this fly, you can really see why it works, the profile in the water as it's drifting through. But imagine, the water pushing these back a little bit, and look at the shape of that body. Very appealing. A nice big silhouette, an easy target for the trout. Thanks for watching.